Last Orders at the Bar!
A night in with Mauler and the Drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Pop up the cork, have a glass of wine, I'll feel safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, Mauler and the Critical Drinker.
Hello, everyone.
Good. I was going to say, what captures good day? That captures even if you're in the night. You know.
I would say that's your catch-all term for just
Got it. Nailed it.
Greeting people. So yeah, slick as always. Anyway, hope everyone's doing lovely on this fine day or night.
Yeah.
And as always, Mauler and I are here to do your super chats because you sent us a whole bunch for the last open bar, and we'll get through the ones that we couldn't answer on the night. So I'm gonna jump right into the first one here. It says here from Panda23, I tried applying for wildland firefighting. The bags of water do actually exist because good luck finding a fire hydrant in the middle of nowhere, so a bag must do. This was in response to our coverage of the wildfires, and apparently the firefighters are having to use bags to like throw on the fires.
What I find with any given bit of information that super surprises me about any industry or just organization, it's usually one or two things. The first would be it's something that is actually really efficient and that I don't understand anything about how it works. Or second, that so many iterations of insane bureaucracy or stupid orders or different materials being used has ended up with something so fucking dumb that nobody understands why they do it. In this case, it's probably the former.
I don't know. Like, I mean, when I think about, okay, I need to get a little bit of water onto a fire, but I don't want to waste loads with, like, say, a hose, right?
Yeah.
They've got these things called buckets. And they've been around for a good long while, and I feel like they're pretty effective at this sort of thing.
I'd be curious surely a big, wet, heavy blanket is, like, super effective as well, right? If you got a small fire.
I mean, I guess so, yeah. You just throw it on top of it and smother it, and then you've not wasted much water at all. But yeah, man, it kind of feels like if you're tackling a wildfire that's covering like several thousand acres, a bag it's probably not going to cut it.
What about a gargantuan bag the size of Godzilla?
Sure, that could do.
I didn't think about that, did you?
Not too many of them kicking around, sadly.
Oh, you don't have one? I thought we all did.
Yeah, well, yeah. We don't really have to worry about fires in Scotland because really nothing can burn here. It's always wet.
My mum was complaining about the weather the other day, and I was like, I don't think we have the right anymore. It's like, it's groggy is like the overall, but it's like, but I mean, we don't have every natural disaster ever happening all at the same time.
I think we talked about this before, actually. Like Britain, just from a nature point of view and like geography and all that, or geology, we are in one of the most crushingly dull countries imaginable. Like we don't get like crazy tornadoes or anything like that. We don't get earthquakes. We don't really have any dangerous wildlife that can kill us. We don't get wildfires generally. The most we get is occasional gust of strong wind that might knock your bins over.
You're like, oh man,
there
they go. Next year, I might think about heavier bins.
It took me literally a minute to pick them up.
What I think I love the most about that is the fact that the weather's never bad enough. You do anything about it in terms of ultimate changes. You're like, we got like through it. It's
occasional
fine.
Annoyance. It's kind of like with snow. Like if it does snow here, it does tend to bring the whole country to a halt because like we're just never really prepared for it. But it happens so rarely. Again, it's not really enough for us to like actually invest in anything to mitigate it next time. So we just complain.
Mm-hmm. I think
anyway,
it's just a funny conversation as well because I always feel like our media represents that the fact that because I recently obviously watched again Blackadder and Fawlty Towers, both of those main characters being such miserable people.
Yeah.
They're like the perfect British icon.
It's part of the national character, isn't it? I think you've got to be a little bit. None of your American optimism here.
Nope.
Master of Puppets. Drinker, as you liked Squid Game, I recommend Alice in Borderland. It's a way better show, and I know Disparu will recommend it. Yeah, he's got a real fondness for that show.
Yeah, I need to check that out at some point.
Apparently, it's good. I've heard nothing but good things about it. And P.S. I, too, really enjoyed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That is good to know. I'm glad you did. The Hidden Duck. Mauler, I wonder why you hated Indiana Jones' game. It wasn't bad. He was very competent throughout the plot, and the story was what one would expect from Indiana Jones. The levels looked amazing. The AI could be better, yes, but overall, it's not terrible.
I have a completely different experience. I thought it was kind of a disaster, an incredibly dull, pathetic attempt at making a video game for Indiana Jones, especially. There's like no interesting action mechanics. There's no dynamic interaction with the game. It's mostly a carbon copy of what would be considered a pretty dull, bare bones Indiana Jones adventure. I almost consider it offensive that could ever be lined up with the original trilogy. There is a life and fervor to those three films that this game does not capture. What the game does is not offend anybody, which I don't care about. I in terms of loving a thing, if you didn't offend me, that just makes it so that you didn't offend me. Like, for me to level respect a thing, it has to be a lot more than that.
I mean, it's first person as well, isn't it? Which
mostly, yes, you get some third person stuff here and there.
Yeah, because it does seem kind of crazy for like Indiana Jones, which you would assume would be kind of platforming based, lots of jumping around and swinging off stuff. Don't know how you're meant to make that work in first person.
For the record, right, there's like a hub world sequence of being in the Vatican, and I killed everyone there. That shouldn't be possible. I shouldn't be able to kill everybody in the Vatican. That's just stupid.
Feels like that should have repercussions as well.
Yeah, you think.
Cuban says, since you guys brought up Adam Baldwin as a potential interview, what is your guys' favorite plots of his? Role of his. Mine is Casey and Chuck, which also brought us Peak Yvonne. I never know how to say this name. Strahotsky.
Yeah, something like that.
I love that show. Cheesy fun. Yeah, she was pretty hot. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite role of his? Probably Animal Mother in Full Metal Jacket. He was having a great old time in that.
He's awesome in that. I would obviously say Jane in Firefly is great. I think he does such a good job with it. I actually do think he's really well cast for Jane. He captures something about Jane that a lot of actors might have missed. And then he also pops up in Angel at one point as quite an important character toward a certain storyline, and I quite like him in that as well.
Nice. Okay. Jonathan Schalter says, anyone here seen the Ron Howard movie Rush? It has Thor and Zemo as the protagonists, and it's in the same vein as Ford versus Ferrari. Excellent acting and cinematography, plus a compelling story based on real events. Yes, it's the F1 thing, isn't it? It's the rivalry between Niki Lauda and I can never remember the other guy's name. But yeah, two good actors, and yeah, apparently it's pretty decent. I haven't seen it, unfortunately. I really should.
Fair.
Jelly Stain says, when are we getting Drinker's Dragon Ball Evolution review? Also, thoughts on Helldiver's film announcement. I mean, you might be waiting for a while for the Dragon Ball Evolution thing, but Helldiver's film, yeah, I think we had another question about that. Isn't it really just Starship Troopers? I'm not really sure what you're going to achieve there.
It's best you'd think that's the dynamic they'd go for, and I suppose it could be a pretty entertaining film. Personally, I'm just like, leave it alone. But if we're lucky and we get an amazing film out of it, sure, cool.
Cole Hauser says, basically, the clones died for nothing. This must be a reference to Skeleton Crew, maybe? We talked about that for a while. I'm not sure.
I can't quite remember.
Douglas Burton says it was a dude ex machina, and that'll be him like coming saving the kids just randomly by buying his way out of a problem. Yeah, that was convenient.
Yeah.
Cannon Volderall. Drinker, 1925 in film, also gave us Battleship Potemkin, the original commie propaganda piece, now widely regarded as important seminal filmmaking. Yeah, I'm not sure why it didn't show up on the list. I suppose when I brought up my list, it was like based on worldwide box office, and well, when it originates from a communist country, they don't really have box office there, so that's probably why it didn't show up. So apologies. No Quarter, No Mercy says, LA's water has been completely mismanaged. There are many areas with no water in the fire hydrants, and lack of proper forestry has made the fire worse. Yeah, it does sound like a bit of a shitstorm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, like I could be just some crazy guy, but I thought like fire hydrants just ran off the same water mains as houses and stuff. Like it's all just the same water supply.
It's just something I don't know anything about. Like, I guess you make assumptions about it because it's so ubiquitous and normal.
Yeah. Cannon Folderol. Fun fact about Ben-Hur, the 1925 one was a remake. The first time was 1907. And the Charlton Heston movie from the 50s was the third one. Hollywood's been recycling content since its inception. Cheers. It's good to see that nothing changes. I mean,
Yay.
the 1907 one must have been pretty fucking bare bones. I mean, Jesus. The actual technology of cinema must have just been in its infancy then.
Yeah.
Snex says, who'd win in a fight, Warf or Dargo?
Ooh, well,
This is a test for like, do you even know anything about Warf?
I know
as a
enough about
character?
Warf to say. Well, the meme with him is that he always gets defeated to show how strong a given enemy is, right?
Sure, yeah.
And he's just bulky and strong. But in terms of like scaling him, I mean, it might be up to you to let me know. Like, where would you fit him? Like, is he as strong as Captain America, for example, or is he like below that?
He's probably below that. Like Klingons are definitely stronger than humans, but I mean, for example, you saw Kirk beat the shit out of one in Star Trek 3, so they
That's
can
true.
be defeated.
Dargo's pretty strong, definitely stronger than average human. He's got that real bad disadvantage of the blood, like poisoning if you wound him. This must have been answered by someone who's obsessed with both shows at some point, but I guess it's your answer means more than mine with this one.
Yeah, I feel like Worf is probably a bit more physically robust than Dargo, because yeah, I've seen Dargo get injured a few times in Farscape, and I feel like he can be taken down relatively easily. So I'd probably give this to Worf in this case. Yeah. Garrett O'Kelly says, Drinker and Muller. What era would you compare this 2020 to 2025 period of Hollywood to? I'd say 1966 to 69, when all the musicals and epics started bombing and smaller movies like Easy Rider became big. Hope so.
I mean, that would be wonderful, honestly, if this was about to birth like a new time where a bunch of random, smaller budget, mid-budget things start to shoot off, and there are different genres and different creative aspects. I mean, we get some new directors. That's something that we really need.
Yeah,
just new famous directors that we're all excited to see the work from, because there's just not many of those left.
It was kind of an interesting time because I particularly associate this with the 70s, when it was kind of a period of, I guess, demoralization in countries like America. You know, like things like the end of the Vietnam War, Watergate, the economy kind of being in the shitter. There was a kind of cynicism and a kind of distrust of authority, a disenchantment with the sort of American dream that had been marketed to them in the post-war years, and that also helped to give birth to like a much more interesting decade of movies that were much more reflective, much more complex, just much more interesting. That's why you had things like Taxi Driver and stuff that just became like something that really represented the mood of the nation, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we're entering into that period or not, or whether this is, going to lead us into another sort of hyper patriotic phase that we're about to get, in which case I don't know what that's going to do to movies, whether they're going to, reflect that, or whether they're going to be a counterculture to it. It's an odd one. So I don't know if the conditions are quite the same, but certainly from a financial point of view, I think that it'd be nice to see the bubble burst and, stop seeing the cinema just dominated by these big franchise milking disaster pieces. I think, we're all ready for something a bit different. Mega Spidey-Man says, to all, what were your favorite moments from the DD show? Did you have any from the film? DD.
So DD showed me Daredevil, and it's easy for me. It's the Punisher Daredevil conversations. about how to deal with criminals, basically. I found it very compelling, and I was very happy to watch it. As for the movie,
Is this the Affleck movie we're talking about
it
here?
has to be, yeah.
I mean, Michael Clark Duncan, I really like
he was
him.
awesome.
You know, like he's about the most physically massive actor you could possibly get to play, the Kingpin. So that was a pretty good choice. As for the show, I think anytime Wilson Fisk was on screen, I just love watching Vincent D'Onofrio work. So yeah, it's such a shame what they've done to him. Jesus Davila gave us a super sticker, 2 beers. Thank you. Chris says, Drinker and panel, when are you guys going to review the Space King shorts that have been released here on YouTube? I did actually watch the first Space King on your recommendation.
What did you think?
It was brilliant. It is just so ridiculously over the top violent, and yeah. It's when they realize they're on the wrong planet. So good. Arc 5 says, the swole side is a path to many gains that some consider unnatty. Is there a way to learn this power? Not from a vegan. That's so true. SBZ, they should be afraid of the critical gamer instead. Oh yeah, that was that little article we got there. It was pretty funny. Taker 610, how long until we get a Starship Troopers meme with Drinker's face on top of NPH while AAA Gaming is on the bug? They're afraid. Yeah,
probably done that.
They will have done, yeah. BradZilla says, I think we might have seen this one because it was a $50 one, but finally able to catch a live stream. Love you guys. Keep up the great work. And with that said, I saw Nosferatu last Friday, and I've decided that Robert Eggers is the director I want to direct on I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream movie. Yeah. Robert Watson. My missus thinks that Reaper sounds like Joey from Bread. Fuck me, that's an old one. You wouldn't even remember that show, Bread. Jesus.
Remember it? I never knew of it to remember it.
This is like, that must have been 80s. Yeah, probably late 80s. I think that was around. I'm pretty sure it was set in Liverpool. Shaker Silver. Why must a critic share your taste? Bit hugboxy dis. Must be disparu.
I don't. He didn't say they must. I think he was talking about, like, you, generally speaking, which everyone does. You pursue or more interested in critics that line up with what you want and like, so that when they recommend something, there's a good chance you're going to enjoy it.
Exactly.
I'm sure Disparu would agree, as we would say. Yeah, definitely check out opinions that don't match your own. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. But if you do watch critics for actually, to be informed about things that you might want to give a shot, then there's no point in watching a guy who's got completely different taste from you and like ends up recommending a bunch of shit that you end up hating. Yeah, what's the point in that? So I can get behind it. Garrett O'Kelly says, CUs these days are putting the cart before the horse. CUs. Cole Hauser says, has anyone seen Operation Kid Brother with Neil Connery? Has Moneypenny, Largo, great movie? Have not seen that, I'm afraid, no.
Neither have I.
The God of Gravy says, speaking of Bond, did you hear about or see the footage of the cancelled Bond Lego game? It looked fun, and I don't get why they canned it. No guns for kids, I guess, but they did Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, so it's a bit odd.
Yeah, I saw the footage. It looked cool.
I mean, I can sort of get it. Like, I wouldn't really associate James Bond with kids. Like
it's. I mean, you can kidify it. We've done that with a lot of stuff. The Lego games have covered. They even Star Wars, when they get to like the more heartbreaking or deeper scenes, they'll have a Lego version that's a little funnier and goofier. I suppose the question is just, is James Bond beyond that line?
I would say he probably is, realistically. If you're talking about particularly the classic Bond, it's like a hard drinking, womanizing spy who kills
It's
people.
true, but like, am I alone? My dad had no issue showing me Bond when I was super young.
No, totally. Like, I think we were all like that. It's more just like when I view this from the perspective of the companies that make this stuff and are marketing it.
Sure.
Yeah, is it a bad look to be trying to push that stuff to kids? Possibly. Maybe that's why they did it. Like you say,
I mean, they got pretty far in the project, if that was the reason. Like the video that got leaked is like, that's a lot of concept, I guess. If it truly isn't any like gameplay that they've actually done, but yeah, maybe.
From Gregor with love says, Ian Fleming's James Bond is specifically a white guy. I'm not on Amazon's side, but I have little faith in Barbara Broccoli since she is reportedly willing to race swap the character. Yeah, she's made sort of ambiguous statements about that. She has said he needs to be a man, but she's not really said much more than that. So I don't know. It feels like, yeah, everyone's looking for a way to make it happen, but it is
inevitable.
Shouldn't.
We will get another Bond. It's just what it's going to look like and when it'll happen is up for debate.
Mm-hmm. Andrew Romanowski says, hey, everyone. Given that Indiana Jones was in part based off of James Bond, I'm surprised they never tried to do more movies whilst changing who would play Indy. In a perfect world, who would you choose as Indy's successors?
Does he need one? I don't know. I think, and I'm sure Gary would agree with this. Indiana Jones original trilogy is they like haven't aged in the sense that they are incredibly enjoyable forever. They're just wonderful films. If we were gonna try and keep it alive and create more, which has been a complete fucking failure, even with Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, I don't know. I get put off the whole idea immediately. Like, let's not.
Yeah. Nobody's really going to be able to follow in his footsteps, like in terms of performance and just how well they embody the character.
It should also be said, it's not just his footsteps; it's the people who wrote and directed and created those original three. You need the full package. You need him at the right age. You need a lot of things. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I'm obviously thinking about Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny. What utter failures!
I would love to see Pedro Pascal take a crack at it. Like, why not? Eh?
Why not?
It's weird though that because I think this is partly true that James Bond was somewhat based, or sorry, Indiana Jones was somewhat based on the idea of James Bond, but I've never really like seen it in the character. Like, he's not particularly suave or sophisticated. He's not a spy. He's not a sort of gentleman, espionage dude. Doesn't wear tuxedos apart from that one scene in freaking Temple of Doom. Like, it's just, yeah, there's not really much to him Bond wise. He's a rough and tumble adventurer.
Do you know that the dev said about the main character in Star Wars Outlaws that she was supposed to take inspiration from Han Solo and Lando Calrissian, but also James Bond, Indiana Jones, and Jack Sparrow?
Did they just like pick a bunch of characters that they knew were cool and popular and just been
what in the fuck connects those five? What are you talking about? Like, what?
Yeah.
Well, they're all men as well.
Yeah. It's kind of like when they did The Acolyte and it's like, oh yeah, it's going to be Frozen meets Kill Bill. It's like, oh, fuck off.
Go away.
Exist Outside the Box says, what do you think about Aaron Taylor Johnson being Bond? I think he would make a very interesting Bond. This is my first time making it to the live stream. Cheers, boys. Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about this on the night. When the rumors were circulating for a while that he was hotly tipped to play Bond and that he was close to signing the contract, I said I was not unhappy about that. I think he's got some of the swagger and he's got some of the sort of masculinity that you look for in Bond. He's kind of got the look. I think he could probably pull it off. Is he like the perfect choice? No, but it could be a hell of a lot worse. So yeah, I don't know how you felt about it, but I would have been okay with it.
I'd be willing to try it out with him for sure. Yeah. Again, we need a team behind him that can help him instead of it's more than just the actor as well.
Yeah. Unifiers says Batman Beyond with Burton and Keaton Batman, though. That would have been nice. That would have been pretty cool.
Could have done it. I guess they could still do it, but they don't want to make money, so no mind.
Yeah. OMG puppies. Like many sci-fi readers, I'm so tired of superhero movies and remakes. There are so many amazing books and stories, and Hollywood is afraid to risk using new material. Agree 100%, yeah.
Which is weird. It does feel like there should be more people paid to just go and hunt for new ideas, especially ones that you can buy for cheap and then make for cheap. But
Well, I think this is probably why we're heading into this era of video game adaptations, because you've essentially got all the advantages of like a built-in audience, a story that's pre-existing, so you don't have to use your own imagination, and a proven track record of success. All you need to do is adapt it, and so it's the next logical choice for them, I suppose. Knife Wielding Women says, will The Last of Us continue the terrible season 2 curse?
that season, I think I said doomed is the word. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not hopeful about it.
Yeah, me neither. Andrew Price, what about Jude Law for Bond? Also, Drinker tried Juror Number 2, Eastwood's latest directorial work. Yeah, I think you've seen that, Mauler, haven't you?
Yes.
And you said it was fine.
I mean, if you watch the trailer, you'll have seen the film pretty much. You're not missing out on a huge amount. It doesn't get beyond its premise pretty much.
Yeah.
I liked it, but there's a lot of things I'd recommend you watch before that.
As for Jude Law, he's probably too old now. I think he's about 50 now, so that kind of rules him out. And I think even in his prime, he was maybe like a little bit too much of a pretty boy, like probably the same problem that Cillian Murphy would have. In they're almost like too handsome for Bond, or they don't quite have that ruggedness that you would look for. So yeah, probably not quite the right look. Oilers Workshop says, if you search BlackRock pulls out of ESG on Google, several articles will come up. The biggest supporters finally gave up on it. Well, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I have heard a few things about that change. Exist Outside the Box says, The Last of Us is my favorite game. They absolutely butchered the casting. Is it just me, or does Ramsey look like a clone of Mark Zuckerberg? I don't quite see the resemblance there, but
I mean, I'm not going to disagree. Especially the Kaylee Spaney recommendation is just, yeah, she would have probably been pitch perfect actually, and from what we can tell, she's a pretty good actress. So, yeah, there were definitely better people to cast. I'm not going to disagree with
that. Irish John says, if you had to make yourselves a Batman villain with your own name and gimmick, what would it be?
Like a made up name? Or I thought they were saying they have to be based on our name.
No, it could be anything really.
I
mean, surely in my case it's easy. I'll be Drunk Man. Like I drink more and it powers me up. So like, the more drunk I get, the more powerful I become as a fighter. At the cost of my sanity. Because you fell in a
vat of toxic alcohol.
Yeah. It's like now I need it to the function,
I mean, you can make it compelling, and we're going to easily drift into some kind of allegory for that when we get the dark and serious and gritty vision of it.
Yeah. Lost says, every frustrating thing is when people they set them up to be really stupid to excuse insane behavior and plot contrivances. Yeah, usually.
There's that. There's also just the hyper aggressive character, and you're like, they're gonna do the violent thing eventually, because that's why they're there. They got to make the violent thing happen, or the stupid thing happen, or the blah blah. Yeah, I agree.
Mega Bren C says, communism works well when you have a salt mine and a secret police force. Indeed. I think in the context of The Last of Us, I'm sure it would work perfectly fine in like a small isolated community in a survival situation. Say you've only got like 100 or so people. Like, I'm sure in that case, everyone's going to be more than happy to pitch in for your mutual survival, especially when there's monsters.
If you and me were trapped on an island and it was like off a shipwreck and we both crashed with 2 boxes each that were filled with some supplies, I think we would both be adult enough to agree we should probably pool them, and
Well, I mean, I'd probably eat you and then the supplies.
but yeah, it's like we could go the direction of no, the ones I crash with, they're mine now. It's like, yeah, sure, but like, we weren't sure how long we can survive. But I mean, it might come down to that. If we ran out of supplies, like one of us is gonna have to eat the other.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the point I was about to make though as well is eventually, as a society or as a survival group, you're going to progress beyond that just basic level of survival, especially if you're going to start to rebuild human civilization, and that's when people are going to start to want things of their own. Oh, hey, you want me to give up all my shit to the community? Well, maybe I don't want to. Like, maybe I want this stuff for myself.
It's not hard to see how it eventually erupts out of the systems are all based on like the control of a huge or tiny amount of people and different. There's so much to consider with economic systems and how they evolve based on technology or population size.
Yep.
And all the problems that come with them. I find most commentary on them to be a little bit cringe if the show itself or the movie itself is offering just realities of the situation. I'm fine with that, but when the writers are like, see, capitalism is shit, you're like, okay,
yeah,
that was interesting.
Bisected Tuscan Raider child. That's a great name. Arcane might be dead, but Vi's back tattoo depicting the gassing of Zon will live on forever. Okay. Chris Barry says, hey lads, America does have water helicopters, but they're on loan to Australia for our bushfire season. Cheers and get a dog up here. Nice, okay. Yeah, I guess you guys need it too. Jay Smart says, here's a question. Why would you kill a bunch of immune people to maybe get a cure instead of just letting them into the gene pool? Well, I mean, I suppose that's fine for future generations, but it does kind of mean that everyone around right now might just die.
There's also just the reality of the virus spreading broadly is kind of not even really the issue anymore in the world of The Last of Us at that point. Like, we're talking about, because I think we went over it in some depth back in the day, but you're really talking about the movement around the world. You can become immune to the spores. It's like, that's good, that's useful, but that's really not accounting for the vast majority of the threats of this world.
Yeah.
And getting a vaccine cure based on Ellie's blood or whatever, her brain, like, it's not going to save the world, and you'd be fucking naive to think it would.
Yeah. Yeah, Jay Fraser. Hail, gents. I don't know if anyone knows, but if Jeff Baya self-deleted last week, he was an indie director of 5 films and Aubrey Plaza's husband. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Pretty sad stuff. Dr. Martin Luther Pepe says, I need to add that Cuckman added himself in the game as a top trumps-like card with max intelligence. He might be the most pretentious human being ever.
Mm-hmm.
He really is in love with himself, actually, especially in relation to these games.
The card was Dr. Uckman or something like that. And
I heard about that. Halcyon says, Mauler, an idea to consider an EFAP with Alex Jones. Yeah, that would go down well.
I think we've always said if he wants to, we'll talk to him about Star Wars. It'd be funny.
Jay Fraser, using EFAP showdown rules and the setting is an all-you-can-eat buffet, who would win in a battle of the fats? Diabito versus Darth Boogie the Wide.
With our lore, Diabito is very powerful. He's the equivalent of Magneto, but with sugar. And Boogie's made of sugar. So, like, I think we're looking at a hard counter.
If we were to take the actual physical reality of those gentlemen, I think Boogie would probably take it, wouldn't he? Like,
would he? I mean, Movie Bob's
maybe big, but like Boogie is like next level, huge.
Boogie's like 50 though.
Well, it means he's had more practice eating.
All right, maybe.
I don't know. Doesn't have the old diabetes slowing him down either. I mean, I'm sure he's got a host of other problems, but I
think he's on like 30 pills a day, so he's fine. That keeps him super powered.
Yeah, I think if we're just like who could pack away the most food at an all-you-can-eat buffet, I reckon Boogie's got it. I would not like to see it happen, though, either way. Dr. Darty says, Western Call of Juarez Gunslinger did Vengeance Story right. You were given choice, and both outcomes matter equally. Up to you to decide. Yeah, imagine that. I'd like a game that had meaningful consequences.
That'd be crazy.
Sealy Akibe says, would love for you guys to invite V Infuso. Okay. Not sure who that is, but I could have a look. TWF says, Mauler, since you've quoted it in your Star Wars TFA review, what do you think of One Punch Man?
I adore it. That first season is one of my favorite seasons of TV. I think it's great. It's like
Nice.
The self-awareness, the point it makes about meaning and just in life and identity and stuff. And then it's got a couple of bits in there that are parallel to what I like about Angel. And Saitama is just a very entertaining character.
Sounds good then. Nick the Greek says, Mauler, did you make Muto watch Forgiven or did you just forget? Show that German a Great Western already. I assume you mean Unforgiven.
They probably mean Unforgiven. And I showed him that last year, not this year.
Right.
And he loved it, as he should, as is law.
It's required.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan's Cancerous Monkeypox says, all hail Lord Emperor Trump. Okay. Minglis says, Judge Dredd, could he come back into the current environment and who would do it right and who would ruin it?
We know who would do it right.
Yeah, they did it already.
Yeah.
Just let them cook. Yeah, in terms of who would ruin it, I don't know, pretty much everyone else.
What about Pedro Pascal as Judge Dredd?
Yeah, let's do that. He wouldn't be happy with keeping the helmet on the whole time.
No, he wouldn't.
Louis G. Drinker, you know they will hit this stream because you talked about The Last of Us. Naughty Dog doesn't mess around. I mean, not had any problems so far. I mean, a few of my clips have gone up already, so it's been fine. Billy says, Hail Drinker and crew, have you or the panel seen From? Highly recommend. If you haven't, would love to hear your thoughts on it. I have not seen From.
I've seen, I want to say, most season 1. Was not impressed. I felt like the characters were mostly stupid, and that's what created the drama. I really like the premise, though.
Sally Akibe says, recommended shows. Cross, but Director X directed episode 7. Oh, dear. Day of the Jackal, Shooter, Lincoln Lawyer, Taboo, and The Agency. Thanks for the recommendations. Aurora Uplinks. Sent you a mediocre story. Sort of interesting. I will let you know when I've read it. Shaker Silver. Related to toxic positivity and gaming critique, I'm reminded of Druckmann on the red carpet and the Hollywood media sphere was completely uninterested. Is that true?
Say that again, sorry?
So, talking about the toxic positivity and gaming critique, it says, I'm reminded of Druckmann on the red carpet and the Hollywood media sphere was completely uninterested. In him?
That's not like triggering any particular memory, like a specific video or article or event for me. I might have just forgotten it.
Yeah. Sula Felix, you hear Kingdom Come Deliverance creator Daniel Vavro said in a recent interview that AAA game studios are terrified of critics like yourself, Drinker. Yes, we did hear about it. It was an older interview, actually. It was from last year, but it was conducted in Czech, I think, so it didn't really do the rounds here, and it was only discovered recently, so that's how it came about. But yeah, it's great that they fear me. OMG Puppies says, His Majesty's Secret Service was interesting. I wish Sean Connery had been in it, but Diana Rigg and Louis Armstrong's soundtrack were great. So that was, what's his name? The one and only appearance of him. Who was the guy who stepped in for Connery and then did one movie and then vanished?
I don't know.
That's going to bother me now. It's at the tip of my tongue. George Lazenby, that was it.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, I think in a lot of ways he just kind of pulls the movie down just because you're so used to seeing Sean Connery and then suddenly you got this random dude show up playing Bond and he doesn't really look like him or sound like him, and it's a little bit weak. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that one. Jay Fraser said, Cynthia Erivo says that her dream role is Storm. No thanks, I'll take Halle Berry doing a terrible African accent over AIDS Storm any day. Fuck my life. Yeah, she is like scarily skinny. I don't know, like, was the catering just fucking horrendous on Wicked or something? Like, all the actresses in it have like lost a ton of weight. It's kind of terrifying to look at. I think it's funny when they were doing pictures of her like next to Nosferatu, just like. But yeah, not really keen on seeing her as Storm. Keaton Kitsune. It seems like Skeleton Crew is a boring mashup of the Goonies and Explorers. Am I the only one that remembers Explorers? No, you're not. I like that movie. A bunch of kids make a spaceship and go to meet some aliens. Yeah, it's your classic sort of kids fantasy thing. Like, as a kid, everyone like imagined like having their own spaceship and having adventures flying off through the galaxy. And that movie just decided to run with it. It was great.
I guess that's what Skeleton Crew is supposed to be banking on as well. It's just, I don't know. It's just not something I find that interesting.
Yeah. Dragon Balls says, y'all should go and do a watch party series for the best bad movies ever. Jiggly, Catwoman, etc., and the absolute masterpiece that is Battlefield Earth. I mean, we've covered bad stuff before, and we will again. Don't worry. The Justice says, Mauler, every EFAP movies need to add a Boogie Tipples shout out after the "What did you bring me? Please make it happen." The people crave the Tipples meme. Ellie's gay, by the way.
It's a long-standing one, Tipples.
Your turn says, Happy New Year, everyone. The Jackie Chan movies you were talking about. The first one was from Police Story, and the ladder fight was in First Strike. Yes. Good stuff. Ministry of Dinosaurs. Has anyone seen the new Day of the Jackal? If so, what are your opinions? I watched the first episode. Didn't really get into it. Really didn't like Lashana Lynch in it. She's a block of wood. Eddie Redmayne is good, but he's good in most things. I'm not really sure about the whole like giving him a family and a backstory and everything. It's like he's supposed to be a bit more mysterious than that. STK says, watch Cinemassacre's top 10 Jackie Chan stunts and fight scenes. You'll leave in even more awe of him. Also, Metropolis for incredible black and white movie. Yes, that is a good choice.
Yeah.
Dragon Balls. They should cast Kevin Spacey as Dumbledore. He'd be perfect in the role of a geriatric fudge packer who spends way too much time around teenage boys. Zlumpy says, Muller, what was that dinosaur EFAP movies where lightning was hunting the spider? Do more of those dinosaur movies.
That was Walking with Monsters, and we might do in the future.
And last of all, insert username. Have you seen the fan-made Minecraft trailer that has replaced the real-life characters with actual Minecraft characters and it looks better? No, I haven't.
No.
But I can imagine it does look better because this movie looks like dog shit.
It does indeed.
Oh, well. But that was the final one. That was the last of our super chats right there.
Well.
Thank you, everyone, for sending us so many. And hopefully we're able to answer them for you. But you will catch us again on Open Bar 126 on Thursday.
Oh my God, so many episodes.
I know, 126 years of Open Bar. But for now, that is all we have for today. So go away now.
Bye.